everyone, and welcome to Below the Forest Floor's first year anniversary. This is Nancy, and I'm here with my co-host, Ryan, who's also my husband.
Hello.
And Ryan, today we are going to be doing something very special. And Ryan doesn't know about this, but because it's our 1 year anniversary, this is going to be an unscripted episode. And we have no notes, we have nothing. We're just going to talk about our favorite past episodes, things that we learned about them that surprised us. We're going to talk about the future of Below the Forest Floor, and we're going to tell stories that we have not told before. If you listened to last week's episode, there was this part where Ryan asked to learn more about the time something happened with my dad where he saw something that he thought was his family member and it wasn't. And I was like, well, let's just put it on this episode so we could have stories and we can have reminiscing and all that other good stuff. And this is going to be an unscripted episode and a no-edit episode unless the dogs are barking uncontrollably.
All right.
That's going to be the only time that I will pause this and I will cut out the barking because I don't want to subject you guys to it. But we're just going to go through this and we're going to have a conversation as if you guys are in the room with Ryan and I.
All right, so it's basically how it's going to be set up then is a free format, so bear with us however long this goes.
Pretty much. And Ryan, I love my husband, but he gets very nervous when it comes to just winging things and being put on the spot. So he's
I can't do it.
I know, but he is going to do amazing, and I have all the confidence in the world in him.
Please reconsider.
Too late. We're already here and in recording, and I refuse to stop.
Right.
He just tries to get this, like the dogs barking. He's like, go now. That's why I got you to take their collars off before this. Nothing will stop us now. Okay, so today, the day this is being uploaded. We're recording this the Saturday before Tuesday. It's going to be our 1 year. It's our 1 year anniversary. That means we have been doing this podcast on and off, obviously, because stuff happened in between.
Yeah.
We have been doing this for a year now.
How do
you... I know, right? That's amazing. I never stuck with anything for that long before.
It's definitely been... It's been a task, but I've enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed all of, like, listening to you do all of the beginning ones. Like, being able to talk about, at least, let everyone know what my favorites were.
Yeah, I get that. It's I really liked the beginning ones a lot. It was something new that I was trying, and I really like the way it's evolved, though. I really enjoy the episodes that we do together now because it's not just me feeling like I'm speaking into the void and then getting kind of like nervous at times. I was starting to get better about it, but I really like the back and forth that we have. I love hearing your expressions and seeing what you think of what I've learned because I do come out with like the more technical side of things and like the history. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed hearing about your, you kind of evolved throughout a lot of it, and you got a lot better with being able to just speak, because we used to do YouTube and stuff also, and if we weren't doing it together, it was kind of difficult to do. So, like, doing it by ourselves, and when you've streamed and everything lately, you've been really good at just being able to just talk your way through things. It's great.
Yeah. And it's honestly practice. And a lot of people are like, I could never do that. Yes, you can. If I could do it, you can do it. It's practice. And Ryan's gotten better at it too, because sometimes like he's not very good at coming up with things right off the bat. But as you guys have heard in the more recent episodes, he's really come out of his shell. He's gotten more talkative about the subjects that we have to talk about. He's even brought up his own, what's it called? When you try to think of a topic to your own ideas, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's something that I thought was really cool because it's really nice to see you enjoying this. Ryan wasn't even sure if you wanted to really be like a permanent part of the podcast. And I was like, well, let's just try it. Let's just see what it's like. You don't have to put in a lot of super big work and effort. I'm going to just be doing all the research myself on the subject. And I'm going to be bringing in the information. And all you got to do is ask questions. If you have any about the subject, I will tell you. And if you want to give any more information maybe you've heard, because Ryan's a really big horror and supernatural buff. Like, he loves these things. He doesn't really talk about them as much as I do, but he really does like it.
I've always really enjoyed specific horror movies. I don't like the ones that get too cheesy and campy, definitely. like the ones that everybody's like, it's half funny, half scary. I really, the ones that don't take themselves seriously for some reason, I hate. So I cannot stand those ones, but I know that's something that a lot of people really love.
Like me.
Do you?
I like all sorts of scary movies except for the ones that are constantly using jump scares. Like the entire movie's a jump scare. That's how they're getting their scares. It's not psychological or anything.
So you're saying that you really didn't like The Nun.
I've never seen it. Can you guess why?
It's just jump scares. It's nothing like House of a Thousand Corpses or, it's not a Rob Zombie movie.
I was just from the commercials. The commercial showed so many jumps. Like, what is it called in the video editing when they do lots of jump cuts?
Jump cuts. Yeah.
It had so many jump cuts to so many jump scares. I was like, this movie's not for me. If this is what they're relying on for their horror, I'm not saying jump scares are bad. They can be made very well if it's like it's got what's it called, like a scene where the aesthetic, not the aesthetic, but what's it called?
Like the atmosphere?
The atmosphere. If the atmosphere calls for it, and it's one of those that you're kind of not expecting it, but you kind of are, that's when I think it's really nice.
The technique that I like when people do is they'll build the tension, then it'll pay off, but then there'll be a jump scare when people don't expect it or something, It's like, but once you do it more than like once in, let's say 15 minutes to be, a little bit more lenient on them, because it is a movie that's usually an hour and a half, but if you use it too frequently, you're losing all of that tension at the later ones, because people are they're kind of getting bored of it. It's like you can only just like scare someone, and it's just startling them. It's not necessarily scaring them. The movie that I liked that did tension really well though was the first Sinister movie, with the little videotapings that Ethan Hawke was watching, like the home movies that he found. I'll show you a little bit of like some of those ones later on. They are fantastic way of building tension and just creeping you out.
I really like found footage stuff, so I think I'd really enjoy that. 'Cause I still haven't shown you VHS. We went to the little video store here in town, and they had VHS 1 and VHS 2 both available for sale. And I was like, Ryan, we have to pick these up. They're movies about found footage, and they're really creepy and scary and out there. And he was like, okay, we can pick them up. We never watched them. It's been like a year or two since we picked them up. We still haven't seen them.
I think it's been pretty close to 2 years, since we got that one. Or it might even have been longer. But yeah, we'll get into it.
And I think it would be really helpful for the podcast. Like we could just write it off. Like it's research.
It could also be help for like some of the other projects that we want to do and stuff like that. So.
Oh, right. Like our millions and millions of projects that we always have going on. But
yeah,
we are going to ramble. Like the stuff you guys hear in a regular podcast from us is like this is what it's like when I do a podcast episode, so you guys can get a little bit of behind the scenes. If you guys were subscribed to my Patreon, which, by the way, is where I go and put ad-free episodes, so there's no ads and they're all high def, because Anchor, for some reason, which is my distributing website for the episodes, it is not allowing me to put up any episodes of high definition that are 30 minutes or up. And obviously, as you guys have been listening and hanging out with us more often, you've seen that our episodes have been much longer than 30 minutes recently. Well, it does not allow me to do high def uploads anymore of anything 30 minutes and up unless I cut it up. And I can't cut it up because Anchor has been doing silly things, and I'm just being honest with it. I don't even care if they demonetize this one. If like they're like, no, you was talking bad. It's like, no, they really have to get it together, because if you cut your episode apart and you put it in the Anchor app thing that they have, sometimes it'll switch the segments around. And a few times I've uploaded an episode and someone will be like, hey, it sounds like the middle of your episode, but it was at the beginning of the thing.
And there's one or two times you actually uploaded one and it was the beginning, then ad, then the beginning again.
Yep. And what Anchor does also sometimes, it's like it'll duplicate, like it'll put two beginnings, two ends, and sometimes the two beginnings and two ends, only one of them is real and only one of them is fake, but sometimes they'll both be real, and it's like, what is happening? So that's why if you guys are ever interested, my Patreon is patreons.com/below the forest floor. I do put the episodes full without an ad, and they're high def and they're downloadable and all that other good stuff, because I am starting to look into that more for distribution when it gets to the point.
Yeah.
Just because of what's happening. But I'm trying to make sure I can get people here and listening first before I decide to do something like that. Anyway, so that's just like the situation it's been in. So I wanted to also explain it to you guys. So if you're always like, why is there an ad at the beginning of your episodes? It's, takes me out of it.
Because Anchor messes it up whenever we try to do it any other way that would be better for you guys.
Pretty much. So that's why that's been happening recently. And we do notice it, and we are sorry for it, because I don't like doing that. I don't like listening to podcasts that do that. Like, as soon as an ad comes up the very beginning, I'm like, oh, you could have put this in the middle, and I just leave. Or I'm like, oh, you could have put this like somewhere else, and I'm out of it, But some people do like it because then it doesn't interrupt the spook of the rest of the episode. It really depends on the person.
Like, I understand that.
And so, like, I'm on both sides of it. It's just, that's what I personally like. If you guys have any opinions on how you like the ads, let me know. I will try to send, like, a ticket into Anchor, like, letting them know, hey, this is messing up. Could you fix this? If you guys really want to have the ads in the middle or towards the end, like that used to be, so then I can try to see if they can do something about it and change it. Don't know if they'll listen, but
I wonder if they did that. I wonder if it's like something that they want people to put the ad first to try and get more people into it. So they just made it so it's like cutting it up. It's like 50-50 chance if it works.
And it's like, it's not even the browser situation. If anybody were to be like, oh, have you tried a different browser? I've tried like 3 different browsers to upload this, and I've had issues with all of them. For anything, Firefox doesn't even work anymore when I try to upload it. It just keeps spinning and spinning like the upload button, and it's just been so frustrating. So that's that situation. That's a little bit of a behind the scenes of the Below the Forest Floor, what happens with that, because I do scripts usually that I will forget very important information, especially if it's something I've been researching all week, because we have very hectic lives. And so what I do is I will pick a topic, like, for example, when I was writing about the haunted, what was it? Not ghost towns. What is it? It was the most recent one. Battlefields.
Yeah, it was missions. Well, it was...
No, it was something else. Forts.
Like, it ended up being about missions.
No, we talked, like, we said the word. Are you ripping a Band-Aid off during the Right, just ripped a Band-Aid off next to you while we're recording.
Well, it was starting to hurt really bad. So.
He got a bug bite the other day.
Yeah.
Because I was just talking to you guys, and I just see, like, out of the corner of my eye,
I was trying to do it without you noticing.
It was kind of hard. You're right next to me, and I just see struggling and yanking. I'm like, what's happening?
We gotta send you through like a radio course where it's like you pay no attention to the person sitting next to you. You just keep.
When people are doing radio stuff, they're not usually ripping Band-Aids off their body.
But you're not supposed to pay attention to whatever is going on around you.
I can't help it. My peripherals flipping humongous.
Oh, I know. And that's okay.
Like, I can almost see all the way behind me, so it's like I'm looking at the computer screen talking to you guys about all the scary stuff, and it's like I'm looking right at Ryan also as he's sitting next to me, so it's just weird.
We did say that there was going to be rambling, so
which is honestly, this is part of the first year thing. I told everyone, it's like, you're going to be here with us. It's going to be like a regular podcast episode if you were listening to like a podcast where people are just hanging out, and it's us talking about behind the scenes of the podcast and the things we liked about it and future stuff. So anyways, it's the same thing, but poor Ryan doesn't like having attention brought to him. So that's why he's all like nervous right now, but it's okay, Ryan. These are our friends and family, because that's all the people that listen. I'm just kidding. We love you guys so much, and we're so happy to hang out with you guys every weekend. It's been really fun, and whenever you guys give us like really positive feedback and you're like excited with us for the episode upload, it makes us so happy. Especially like Ryan was like really nervous at first to hop on, because he was like, oh, I don't know, everyone's kind of just used to you talking, and everyone's like, oh, Ryan's been doing really good on the episode, and I tell him like, Ryan, they love you, and he gets so excited.
Oh, well, I want to thank everybody for that. I don't know what else to really say about it, but thank you.
he's a man of few words. But he really does get happy and excited to see stuff like that, and it's very reassuring because we both have really crazy anxiety, and so it makes us nervous to do stuff like this in the first place. And so that's why I just wanted to do this episode with you guys that was really chill and talking about all this other stuff, because I don't know when I could have talked to you guys about the whole situation with the distributor for our episodes and why things have changed with our uploads and why they have been being uploaded differently, and what we do like about the podcast, what we wish we could change, and what we want to do for the future. Because right now I am hoping, I've got my fingers crossed, that our bi-weekly thing could stick, because I want to make sure that I am consistent with you guys. I'm able to come up with a good topic that you guys enjoy, which, by the way, I have heard your feedback, and I heard that a lot of you guys not only really like the actual urban legends, but you guys really have enjoyed the creepypastas and SCPs and all of that other stuff. And I was really scared to do those at first, because I was like, oh, what if they don't like it because they want to learn more about like the history of the other things that are more possibly real. I don't know if it's the right thing to call it possibly realistic for an urban legend.
Okay, so since you did mention the whole SCP thing, the funny thing about that is that if you go looking on YouTube when it comes to like any of the SCP like story YouTubes that like people tell the story and everything like that, a lot of the comments on there are all a bunch of people saying it's like, today I learned the SCP Foundation actually isn't real, you know? And it's like, we came looking for information on it. A lot of people thought it was a real thing. And for a long time, nobody knew that it was made up.
Oh, well, okay. Well, now I know that. Well, I knew that was made up, but I didn't know people didn't know. That's really interesting.
It went for a long time without people knowing.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, so I didn't know you guys would enjoy stuff like that as well. And one day Ryan just suggested it, and I was like, we'll give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. And it really blew up, and I was really excited. And now I even have had people ask me about more episodes I have to do that, because with the SCP Foundation, there are tons of stories that could come from that, because it's basically, well, I'll let Ryan explain what it is.
Well, when it comes to like tons of stories, they are up to the mid 6,000s in number. So that's a lot of stories. You know, they're hit or miss. Some of them could be made into movies that could be amazing. Some of them are barely a poem. Some of them are something you can basically ignore. They're not that great, but sometimes they're still fun to just kind of sit and listen to.
And I think that's really great. And obviously we'll be talking more about the more popular ones with more backstory, because it's really hard to do an entire episode on something that's like 10 minutes long or 5 minutes long.
But going off of that, being able to bundle a few of them together would be nice. The ones that actually have things to do with each other, if there's a lot of crossovers.
Well, that's something we could definitely work on, and that we can definitely do, because I know you've been wanting to talk about, like, Ryan's been considering doing his own podcast about certain things that I don't know if he wants me to mention it on here, kind of make it a reality, because now people know. But Ryan, would you like to talk about it?
Okay. Well, since you want me to.
I asked if you wanted to.
Yeah, but it was kind of like, oh, here's the mic, take it.
Yeah, you can say no. You can say, back off, woman. No one shall know.
No, it's okay. I've had the idea for a while of wanting to make a bestiary kind of podcast, I guess, where each episode is a video game, beast, creature, what have you, and kind of describing it and talking about it in the way as like if somebody's documenting it down in a big book, you know, to describe what this thing is and what it does and everything. That kind of just goes through, you know, the creatures of the video game world that people love, you know, like going through stuff from the monsters of Monster Hunter. We're on Final Fantasy right now, so like going through some of that, I could actually learn some of the history of some of them also, and it's a way for me to learn and then also just have fun telling these stories to other people too.
And I think that's a fantastic idea because I love playing video games, but I am not the kind of person who will sit and just read the story sometimes because I'm like, I want to get to the fighty shooty parts. I'll just hit A a whole bunch, or I'll just hit enter a whole bunch and just skip through things.
And then what happens is we're sitting there, you just watched a quick little cutscene at the end, you're like, why is everybody clapping for this polar bear?
He did the bare minimum. That was not supposed to be a pun, but Ryan, what did that stupid little polar bear do that was worth clapping for? Tell me what he actually did, because Ryan watched it.
It was a polar bear that helped with the dessert.
Boo!
It was a polar bear that
Boo!
did that.
He can fly. Nobody clapped for the flying part, just that he helped make a dessert.
He can only fly for us because we are the warriors of light.
All right, nerd.
Nah.
I'm just kidding. I love you so much.
Here we go.
I'm just kidding. I call him that, but I'm the one that was sobbing like the other day because I couldn't play my computer for 2 days due to the power supply breaking.
It was longer than that.
Was it? It was like a week though, wasn't it? I don't know. I have like no sense of time.
You really got to be able to play the Switch a lot more that time because we literally could not get your computer to turn on. It just shut off. That power supply died in the middle of you playing a game.
I was playing Overwatch and like
the thing was the day before was when the power outage happened. It's not like, oh, the power outage killed it from then, but it's like, no, what it did was it must have went at its knees or something because she was playing Overwatch and she was like, I'm not hearing anything. And I was like, oh, we'll check and see if the audio mixer, which we use Voicemeeter Banana, but it's like, sometimes it messes up, and if it freezes and locks up, it'll stop your audio from working. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll go check that. She went to load it, it froze, and then the entire computer shut off. And I spent the rest of the night trying to get it to turn on. Everything I did not work.
We literally, and I had the podcast coming up, the last episode that I put up. I was like, Ryan, is the power supply going to get here before the episode is going to go up? Because I either need to make sure I can find a way to record it on your computer, or we're going to have to just do something about it, because I had already planned the episode and I'd made the announcements about it.
Just set the recorder on your phone, just set it, and then pass the phone back and forth while we're talking.
And you just hear our sticky fingers going like on and on.
No, you're not going to hear that. You are going to hear like our hands just hitting the microphone a lot, where it's like,
oh no, don't do that. And everyone's like, all right, I'm shutting this off.
It didn't spike any louder than when you talk, so it's okay.
Wow. You saying I got a big booming man voice.
No.
Back to whatever we were talking about.
23 minutes later, here's what the video,
Here's Wonderwall.
23 minutes in. Anyway, here's what we were going to talk about.
I told everyone, you know what, at this point, I warned everyone at the beginning that sometimes this is going to be just like hanging out with us, and this is what it's like when we're in a Discord call with our friends. It's just everyone rambling. And it's like, you'll start with one topic, and you're talking about how to fix the world hunger like 5 minutes later.
Oh my god, yeah. We got so tired. We got so tired one night when we all kind of like wound down from playing Halo 3 back in the day. We thought that we actually solved like the climate change problem when it was called global warming at that point. We thought we solved it one night, and it's like, what the heck?
These people do not drink or anything, or like they don't usually do it on a Discord call.
Especially not at that time, because it was Halo 3, so that was a while ago.
Yeah, speaking of that, if you guys
Chris
already
was still in high school. I had just gotten out.
Wow, you guys are little. Yeah, we're like, all right, let's save the world, everyone.
Well, yeah, a bunch of kids. We're gonna be the ones that do it.
Right. But yeah, honestly, oh, by the way, this is a good, if you guys hear meowing, our cat's at the door. She's not in here right now because she doesn't like the dogs, first of all. Second, she would destroy my keyboard and you guys would not have an episode to listen to. But since we're talking about video games so much right now, I feel like right now is a good time to talk to you guys about another project we were talking about, which is we've been working on something called the Helpful Hunters Guild. And the Helpful Hunters Guild is something that Ryan was a part of back when he was playing.
Oh, okay.
I just don't remember.
No, you're good. I understand.
He played something.
I've played a lot of things.
I know. How could I possibly remember?
If I just listed off names of games that I played and I just spent the time to just say the title, we would be here all night.
That's fine.
A week, possibly. But, okay, so the Helpful Hunters Guild was something that I had started during the old days of the original Monster Hunter on the PS2 online. And it was basically just, being in a group, because at that point, like video game clans were all a big thing, and it was just big groups of friends and just getting random people in there to just be this big group of people that can do things, basically. It was like a big team. Well, I had started one with a couple of friends that I met on there, and it got to the point where people were actually coming to us to do some of the most tedious, annoying quests in that game. And we started kind of becoming really popular, where it was new players would come in. It's like, hey, I heard that you guys could help me with such and such. And we're like, yeah, sure, we can do it. We set up a whole thing with being able to help people with that. And by word of mouth, it would get around to where, there were these people that loved doing the most annoying quests in that game. Because I just liked playing. It was just fun. So took it from there, tried to put it into WoW. That didn't really work all that well. WoW's not the game for something like that. It is, but then it isn't. It's a weird community for starting up something like that. Everyone's in guilds in WoW. It's like everybody wants to go for like the end game stuff. They're not really like up for helping too many new players. And then so I wanted to move that into Monster Hunter World because it started with Monster Hunter. It should continue in Monster Hunter. Then I just never got, the chance to. There was a lot of moments that things just kind of fell off the rails for me, and I wasn't able to keep up with any type of content thing for it. So that fell by the wayside. But right now I have it on Final Fantasy XIV. If anybody is, I don't know if you want to promote like that then.
If you guys are on Final Fantasy XIV, check out the Helpful Hunters Guild. It was mostly because this is going to turn into another podcast we were talking about, and that's the other surprise I was telling you guys. Oh. I know this sounds like a lot.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of things, in the oven, and it's starting to... Some things are actually starting to get to the point where we can do them, So if anybody is playing Final Fantasy XIV and you don't have a free company or anything like that, if you're on Coral, it's on the Crystal Data server. We are both on there. You've got ways of like getting messages for the podcast, right?
I don't know what that means.
Are people able to send in any type of message to you on anything?
You can get a hold of me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Okay, I was just saying
social media for Below the Forest Floor.
Because if anybody did want to try and join into this free company or maybe ask us for help, you definitely can. Whenever we are available, we can do whatever. I'm trying to get Nancy into playing more of the dungeon side of it and stuff, so she can go on there as well, because she's very, very new to the game, but she's enjoying it. So, and I'm just getting in.
My scratchers.
Yeah, she loves the gold saucer because it. And I would love to have like a community that we can get people together with and just hang out, like what happened yesterday when we were getting the polar bear mounts. You're just like a bunch of random people just hanging out at that spot, and just we made the bear tower, the bear stack that happened.
The stack of bears.
And I want to be able to get into doing stuff like that, have a bunch of people just come chill, hang out, if you need something, if you're looking for something in the game, then let's all go out and get it,
Yeah, and the best part about it, it's not just going to be... The Helpful Hunter Guild is not going to stay just within the game. The Helpful Hunters Guild is going to become so much more than that. And when we say we want to help people in games, we mean from actually helping them in the game to helping them outside of the game. Like, we have a website that we are putting together right now where Ryan is going to be putting up tutorials, and he's going to be putting up different ways to help you guys who play video games to get through a game with the least amount of research needed. Like, there's this one thing you were doing the other day where you were trying to figure something out. You had to go like to 3 different videos just to find out how to do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly what that was. But
there was like macros or something. Or was something else.
There was something in Final Fantasy that I had to go through like 4 or 5 different videos to gather each different part of it, because there was not just one video that was the entire thing. And I looked. They didn't have like part 1, part 2 or anything like that. I had to go through so many different ones and then kind of like piece it together with logic and common sense just to be able to do it. So I was like, maybe I can try and find a way to condense all this into one and cover it from start to finish, sort of thing.
Yeah, and Ryan really knows what it's like to help people like that, because that's kind of the person I am. When I met Ryan, I'd played video games, but I played stuff like Street Fighter. I played stuff like Mortal Kombat, not really games that you have to really pay attention to anything to, like going on quests or talking to NPCs or whatever.
Or watching out for Kaprasukis in Ark.
Oh my god. We'll talk about, like, see, we have so many stories about video game situations.
Which leads me into something that I know that we had mentioned it before together, but this is my little surprise, I guess, because of what you just said there, is getting the Quick Save Tavern started back up again and just letting it be just a let's talk sort of thing for video game stuff, what's going on, and, you know, what we're doing.
And what's the Quick Save Tavern? Is it a podcast? Is it a website?
Well, yeah, it'll be a podcast. It'll be a part of the Helpful Hunters Guild in general, because it's kind of just a like come in and talk. And if people have anything that they would like to say, they can get a hold of us with things like that, and we can do a story time with other people. We can read people's comments on air. They'll be filtered, definitely. There will be a restriction to how it goes, but I would like to try and make it seem like anybody else is sitting and talking to us as well. Then it's something that I've wanted to do. So, and
it's something I want to do, because that's kind of where I was getting into after I was going to talk about like how we made the website. I was going to be talking about that too, and then you beat me to it.
Like, I honestly didn't know you were still thinking about it. So.
Oh, of course I am. Like, see, that's one of the things with us. Like, we're in each other's heads so much. Sometimes we think we know what the other person's thinking, so we're surprised when the other person doesn't say what we're thinking. We're like, how dare you not know what I was thinking?
And that leads into like when we were playing Ark with Marcus, and he's just like I'll say that we need this thing, and before I'm done, Nancy's already like running and getting geared up for something like that, because she knows what would need to happen. It's just like, it's the such small communications to where you and I are both on the same wavelength for how something would happen. You know, it's like I won't even get a chance to say what I might need at a certain time. Like when me and Marcus were running away from something that one time, and I had just told you that we were in trouble and that we're heading towards this thing, and you beat us there, and you stopped the thing that was chasing us at the point without even really saying anything. And even he was like, "How do you guys do this?"
Yeah, like as you can see, like we've spent the last like 13 minutes talking about video games. So this is one of the reasons we wanted to tell you guys we're going to be working on a few podcast ideas, and one of them is talking about video games, telling you guys our stories, telling you guys about our adventures.
It's going to be a little bit. I just had an idea. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bump you with that.
That's okay.
But I just had an idea from you doing this, so thank you so much. Also, it's that combining a lot of it all together. Doing some, because we did want to do something at one time. We wanted to do news because we want to throw our hat into at least some of the conversations that are out there, because a lot of people are getting these things wrong. So there's that. There's just the regular talks. It'll kind of be a little bit
like
of
a variety show.
I would like it to be a little bit of everything.
I'm okay with that.
You know, whatever we're able to at that time.
Yeah.
Not a drama one, but definitely like news. What's going on with this?
Oh, of course. Like, I don't even get the people who bring drama into news. That's not what news is. News is not supposed to be like dramatic. You're just supposed to give the information to people. Anyways, we're not going to get into that because I have issues with things about that. Anyways, so that was something we wanted to talk about with you guys. Since I told you guys there would be like a little surprise in this episode, it's basically that 2 more podcasts are possibly in the future, not right now, not in the next couple months or anything, because we're still working on this and trying to work out our scheduling together. But sometime, hopefully soon, maybe possibly next year, we can get our stuff together and figure out what we're working on right now. The Quick Save Tavern by the Helpful Hunters Guild is going to be a video game podcast that we're going to be talking about all our adventures, the news of video games and all this other stuff. Because as you've heard, we could talk forever about it. We've been through so many adventures in like the past, 5 years we've been together.
Yep.
It's like been incredible, and you guys would love the stories. They're funny, they're crazy, they're silly. Oh gosh, I still remember the first day I cried over my first dinosaur in Ark, which is it's a survival game where you can tame dinosaurs and ride them and feed them, and you have to take the time to actually like subdue them, and then you have to make sure that you keep them alive and nothing eats them while you're trying to feed them so that they can be yours when they wake up. And I still remember getting my first dino and doing that all myself, and then it dying, and I literally sobbed, and Ryan had to he had to hold me because I was just so overwhelmed.
The thing is like, if anybody has played it that's listening to this by some off chance, just send a message of like Ark : yes or no if you cried when your first dino that you tamed died, because we've all done it. With me, my first one was like a little Dilo that I had. And his name was Fido. And yeah, because it was a Dilo, it died very quickly after I had it. And I felt really bad for it. And like the raptor that some guy helped me tame for like an hour, I think, because it was normal rates. Took us over an hour to do that. And yeah, when that thing died, I felt awful.
Oh, I'm sorry. And it's not all sad stuff. Like, it's really one last story, and then we'll move on to the actual scary part of this episode and talking about that stuff. But this is just to let you guys know new podcasts are coming up, but that will not interfere with our normal episodes of Below the Forest Floor at all. We plan on keeping the steam rolling for Below the Forest Floor because we love horror things also. We just have a lot of interest, and we have a lot of experience with certain things. Like, we have a lot of experience with the supernatural. We have a lot of experience with video games. We have a lot of experience with all sorts of stuff that we want to talk to you guys about. And so something funny that does happen in that video game we were just mentioning, so that you don't just think it's so depressing in case you want to try it out, is if you tame something really big, like a T-Rex, and it's not that hard. It's kind of hard if you're new, but I was able to tame one myself, like alone, a whole T-Rex. And if you ride it around in a random area with like little dodo birds running around.
When you punt the dodo?
Well, sometimes, not even punting, if you walk around them, they won't get out of your way. They will not get out of your way, and you will step on them, or you will accidentally kick them and see them go flying across the screen, and you just hear
the honking noise that happens. The honking noise that happens when you kick them like that is hilarious, though.
It's so horrible. And then we have this story of this dodo that didn't die for like days and days, that we left out in an island because we thought it was dead.
Because we lost it. It fell off the raft as we were going, and then we couldn't find it. I was like, screw it. There's so many things chasing us. We're just going to keep going. And it lived for like almost a week. We completely forgot about it. Then as we're going down near something, Marcus had said that there was like a dino's name over there because we lost something else over there, and he was looking for one. He's like, wait, there's a name over here. And he's like, I can't remember what the name of the dodo was, but it was just like, wait, there's a dodo over here? And he's like, oh my god, you found my dodo.
I couldn't believe it. But yeah, you'll hear stories like that basically, and it's going to be a lot more like this, and it's not going to be as informational and scripted as Below the Forest Floor is. So if you like stuff like that, stay tuned. We will try to keep you guys updated as much as we can when we get the ball rolling on that. But back to Below the Forest Floor stuff. Since we made our announcements, we hope you guys liked them and liked our stories. Ryan, what is your favorite episode of Below the Forest Floor?
I'm still going to have to stick with the Kukui episode, really.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that one a lot. I love I don't know if it was because like it was the first one you did, and I was just like, I loved this like idea so much of you doing that.
Aww.
But that was definitely one of my favorite ones. And then
what did you like about it? Like, was there anything specific that you liked about it? Do you remember anything about it?
Oh yeah, I do, because the first time you did that was when we were moving all the desks and everything, and I walked that 25 kilometers that time at work, when I was basically moving desks literally from the moment I got there to like a half an hour before we had to leave that night.
Ooh.
And I had your podcast, and I actually listened to that one a couple of times there.
Aw.
But I remember that, and I remember kind of like just when hearing the story is like, I've heard you talk about things like that. I've heard your mom talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And hearing some stories behind it to put a little bit more substance in the name that I've got in my head, and kind of learn, like, I kept, when I was hearing your story, it's just like, this almost sounds like
like Boogeyman.
Kamazats.
What's that?
The Mayan god of bats.
I have
Because wasn't there a part of your story where you talked about like that it kind of had
bat-like features? Yeah, like in some part of the world they say it has bat-like features.
I can't remember if it was Mayan or Aztecan, but it was a god of bats, and it's in Smite actually. Kamazats is in Smite. But like I kept thinking of that. It's like I wonder if they actually like had him. If they thought of him as a god, I wonder if he was around at that point then. So Kukui was like technically an Aztec god or something, or a Mayan god, whichever one it was.
Don't give him that much power. That's terrifying.
But like when I heard the story, I was just like, wow, it's like that was what got in my head, and now I can't stop thinking about that. But that one was definitely one of my favorites. And then I keep wanting to say Pirate Cove, and I'm wrong. Candle Cove.
There you go.
That one was so interesting. I have a recommendation for you that I would love to hear.
Oh gosh.
Hearing you do the Candle Cove one, there was a lot of like subtle references to, I know it was like it was a creepypasta, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. It seemed like the person had played a little bit too much Five Nights at Freddy's also with some of it. I would like to suggest doing a Five Nights at Freddy's, like a beginnings or like an origins of the story of that game.
Okay,
not
I'm like literally writing it down right now.
Not like how it was made, but I mean like, the actual lore, the lore, quote unquote, of it. I think that would be interesting because I've played the games. I've watched other people go through the ones that I was not able to play for many reasons. But you really haven't all that much. So you don't have to play it. You don't have to watch people play it.
I wasn't gonna play it even if you asked me to. I'm sorry. I love you, but not that much.
But I think that could be pretty cool. And if anybody else agrees, please tell us.
And if anybody is actually listening to this that likes video games and stuff, we do stream sometimes on our Twitch. If I get anybody requesting for me.
No, I know what this is too. I know what this is.
For me, I'm not saying you have to do it. You can just be in the room. If anybody, cause
oh, you're gonna say you're gonna do something?
I might.
Okay, I thought you were gonna throw me under the bus because of something else we talked about.
Oh no, I don't remember anything about what you're talking about. Now I want to know.
The Help Wanted VR game.
What's that? Well, I don't remember. I wouldn't be asking.
The VR Five Nights at Freddy's, the remake basically of the.
Well, thank you for reminding me, Ryan.
I know, right? I know.
He wants it. He secretly wants to. That's why he reminded me.
I actually do want to play it, but what I was saying was like we could have a video of that.
Yeah. So if anybody out there, because the Helpful Hunters Guild that we were talking about earlier, we also do videos and we stream on our Twitch as well. If anybody wants to request that we play a scary game live in front of everyone so you guys can see our reactions, because I'm a big scaredy cat. I talked about it on the podcast. I love horror, but I am so easily frightened, which is so funny that I started what I want to make a career out of in telling scary stories, because it gets to the point where I have to ask Ryan to walk me to the bathroom at like 3 a.m. I'm like, Ryan, wake up. I can't go by myself. You got to take me.
Well, and jumping off from your point of wanting to do like scary games and stuff like that, we could, because there's still a bunch of them that I haven't finished. And then there apparently has been some more updates. You remember that car horror game that we were playing on Halloween? Why? What'd you hate about it?
It was scary.
Well, yeah, it should be. I would hope it was.
Well, it did its job, didn't
But
it?
there's apparently been some more updates for it that we didn't play through that night. There's that. I still got to finish Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
And I have not played the original Outlast through till the end. And then you also bought me Resident Evil 8.
Yes, I did.
So we could try and do that too sometime.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here first. If you guys love horror, which you probably do since you listen to my podcast,
Right?
then you guys should definitely keep an eye out for our streams and our videos on Twitch and YouTube, which are Esterloon and Metriel. I will spell that somewhere for you guys in one of the social media posts.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, does Anchor have like a show notes thing?
Yeah, there's a description.
Is there? Okay.
Thing. Yeah, I can do that. It's just sometimes it doesn't show up all the way. It's weird. It's Anchor.
that makes sense, because a lot of people, when they say they're going to put something in the show notes don't really show much when you're on Spotify. I wonder if Anchor does that.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore. They're going to demonetize this episode. I need money.
No, see, it's sandwiched between good, fun quality content.
Right. We're not pooping on it. We're just saying, could you do a little bit better? Could you help us out here a little bit? But anyways, yeah, so that's something, if you guys like horror and you guys like to watch people squirm, we would definitely squirm, and we would definitely love to play games like that for you guys.
So since I realized that I took us off the rails for that, yes, Candle Cove was definitely one of the other really good episodes that I enjoyed listening to.
Cool.
And then there was the Talks of Siren Head, which apparently that's your most popular one. And
it is my most downloaded episode, yes.
And the idea of going deeper into the SCPs once we did Peanut, I was like, yes, I know some that would be perfect for this.
And you could thank my friend Sierra for that, because they actually were the first ones that messaged me that were like, are you going to do any more of those episodes? And I was like, yeah, actually, I can definitely do that. And my husband would enjoy that.
Oh, yeah. Good God, I fell headfirst into the SCPs when Charlie told me about it. And then we started playing that one game, and it's just, woo!
Another horror game, if you guys want to watch us squirm some more.
If we can get enough people to do
gosh.
Containment Breach, I will put that in a video. I'll have to bleep out a lot of stuff, but
yeah,
I think that could be fun if we could get enough people to play the whole thing.
And I really liked doing research on Peanut, because he was scary. Like, it was legit gross and scary, and I'm a very big gore, right? Or what?
No, go ahead and finish your
No,
thought.
Ryan did like this weird... Okay, so Ryan does this smile where he looks like really scary sometimes when he's thinking about something maniacal, and I just turned over.
I've actually been told that by a couple of people. The girl that I worked with at when I lived in Maryland, she actually said that I had like almost like a Joker smile sometimes, and that was apparently the moment that I always have ideas. But what I just started thinking about was, crap. Oh, yes. There we go. It probably wouldn't be for the bestiary, but doing like almost like how you have the below the forest floor thing.
Yeah.
Having a video game below the forest floor segment sort of thing, because what I started thinking was like, what if I did an episode talking about the different special zombies of Left 4 Dead? Because I started thinking about Back 4 Blood when we played that yesterday. It's like,
that was fun.
What about some of those things? And I was like, there could be an entire series just of like video game parts that's just like how your podcast is right now. I've got too many ideas. Like, I'm not gonna have any free time to do anything.
Why? What do you need free time for when we could just sit around and tell stories and
Right.
be, like, Ryan and I used to talk when we first met. The first couple of weeks we were together, we would talk for 10 plus hours a night, and that's that we both worked full-time jobs. I was a substitute teacher, and Ryan worked at a restaurant.
Dave & Buster's.
I was going to say the name, but
I don't care.
and we both worked full time, and we would stay up, and we would like talk from the minute we got out of work. Like I would be messaging him, "Hey, I just got out. I'm about to get in my car." He'd be like, "Good, let me know when you get home." And I'm like, "Okay, you let me when you let me know when you get home." We get home as soon as we get home. We're online.
Skype,
We're talking.
Yeah. And even when when the conversation would go off of Skype, and then like it'd start getting late, so we'd go to like each of us would go lay down, and then I would have my headphones on, so I could just always have my. I would just talk to you on the phone, plug my headphones in, so I didn't have to hold it up and everything. I just set my phone next to me and just let it go.
Yeah, we'd end up asleep a lot over the phone.
No, yeah, I had to make sure that my phone was next to me charging, so it didn't get too hot laying on me. But yeah, that happened a lot too.
Yeah, so like that's honestly one of the. We're at 50 minutes. We haven't spoken much about Below the Forest Floor.
Well, I did.
Ryan did real good. Yes,
I said my part.
Yes, you did, sweetie. I mean, we have talked on and off, but obviously we talked about the other important things like that I wanted to announce because this is really big for us. I didn't think we were actually going to make the leap to tell people, especially like everyone that listens to this.
I feel like it's that manic moment because we had such a good day with we did the yard work. Like this weekend was very
yard work, so now we got to let out big surprises.
No, but it's like it's that moment where it's like you agree to too many things because you're in the manic like happiness side of the roller coaster, and it's like, oh boy, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up with like when I go to work, I'll be listening to this just to see how it sounds. And I get to that part, it's like, what have I done?
It's too late now. The internet knows.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, that's one of the reasons I really want to continue with the podcast, and I want to make sure we could make something of it and possibly a career someday, because something Ryan and I could just do for hours is talk to each other. We just really enjoy each other's company, and I love that we have so many things in common that we could literally just talk to you guys about our adventures on like video games and in real life. Like just yesterday we got a memory on our phones about 3 years ago yesterday. Our car broke down on the way to Austin.
Didn't you have a YouTube video of us talking
about
that?
Yes, I actually have a YouTube video.
We should probably link that.
I don't think it's up anymore.
Oh, dang. We gotta look.
Okay, I'll take a look, because it was literally the story of us getting stranded in San Marcos on the way to Austin. It was like not even 30 minutes into our trip.
We were 40 minutes away.
we were 40 minutes. It was 10 in the morning. We didn't get to Austin till 8 at night, and it's supposed to be a 2-hour drive. Anyways.
A little over an hour, actually. Not even 2.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half. We were halfway there when the car died. And I mean died.
Yeah, we thought it was going to explode on the side of the road. Anyways. That's a story for another time.
So for you then, really quick, what was your favorite episode to do? And then I do have, like, before we end it at least, I do have a question to pose to anybody listening as well.
It's funny. I was actually about to say that. I was going to move on to my favorite episode, and you beat me to it.
Like I said.
Yeah, we're in each other's heads. It's terrifying. Someone stop us. My favorite episode of Below the Forest Floor to do was, honestly, it was the one about the vampires, because
I forgot about that one, but that one was really good.
Thank you. Just because I found out so much like drama from history with the whole Bram Stoker situation, and I if you haven't listened to it, you should go watch it, because it's really, really crazy with the drama that happened with a couple of writers back in the day.
You know that the movie had the same kind of problems?
Really?
I'll tell you about it later.
Okay. And so I'm a big history buff. I love history. I almost made this podcast was almost a history podcast before it was Below the Forest Floor, like horror and stuff like that.
It kind of still is.
I do like to talk about the history of things, but it was mostly going to be a history podcast. And then I started writing about this stuff because I just love hearing the tea about history, like all the bad things that happen. I don't know what it is about me. I'm chismosa.
Did you just say tea?
Yeah, the tea.
Okay.
It's piping hot, Rian.
Just want to make sure.
It is piping hot. But yeah, I just really like doing that. So I love telling you guys all of the really like spicy things, especially when I hear an urban legend and it's like, oh, scandalous, something scandalous happened. And I'm like, oh, now I got to tell everybody who's listening about the scandalous thing because history is crazy. But I think that was my favorite one. And it was also my favorite one because it's the one that got my aunt to listen to it. And that's when she called me and she was like, I have a story about a vampire. And she started telling me about how she met a vampire in real life, and it terrified me. And for weeks, I was afraid to go pick up my husband from work. And another of my favorite episodes definitely has to be when I was talking about the haunted schools in Texas, because all of those were personal experiences that I went through when I was working as a custodian before I was a substitute teacher and all that stuff. It was terrifying. Every single school that I worked at, every single one of them. And the one time when Ryan went out there and started working as a custodian, we all dealt with situations of hauntings in every single one. And I went to a lot of schools to work in. It was terrifying. And the fact that so many are haunted and that happens so often is just so overwhelming. I would have never guessed that many in just such a small area, because it wasn't just one school district even. It wasn't like across Texas. It was one school district that had all these things happening in it. So I think those are definitely two of my favorite episodes. But I do think for the future, I want to actually talk to you guys. Like, you guys have sent in stories, and we were able to do our last episode on you guys' personal stories, and I loved it. I had so much fun reading you guys' stories. Ryan had a lot of fun listening and participating as well from what he told me.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun.
And it's just really interesting to hear what other people have to say. I think it's great. So that's a segment I want to keep going. And to keep it going, we need stories from you guys. So if any of you are interested in being on Below the Forest Floor, you can be anonymous. You can have your name on there. It has to be within certain circumstances, but I will advertise your business if it is appropriate for our business, because this is a business and we want to make sure that everything is cool on both ends. So we would do research to see, if you could be a part of this. So yeah, if you guys want to let us know, you can let us know on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, basically anywhere that Below the Forest Floor is on social media. You can go ahead and find us there. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you think of anything. Let us know your personal stories, what you want to be credited for, and all that other stuff.
I just want to jump in real quick because I'm not sure where you're going to be going with it, with like ending it and stuff. But it's not even close. I'm not ending it. I wanted to pose a question as well, because I think I know what you're about to say, but I'm not sure if the other one was what I'm thinking of. But I do want to know what anybody else's favorite episode was. Please send us messages on any of the social medias or comment on those. I would just like to know what everybody else's favorite, like let's say top 2 favorite of any of the episodes that has been done so far.
Yeah, I agree. I would really like to hear that, because I like to know what you guys are enjoying and the kind of subjects you guys like, because I love doing all kinds of things, from the creepypastas to urban legends, and something that I would like to do in the future. And I mentioned it a few episodes back, and I wasn't really sure if I meant it when I said it, but now after having some time to really think about it, I think I've made my mind up on it. If Ryan's okay with it, obviously, because I would not go alone. Would you still consider sometime possibly doing an episode from a haunted place? Like, you
actually want to do the whole episode there?
Yeah, like we do the research on the place, right? And after we do the research on the place, we have our show notes and we make sure we have everything ready, and we go to the actual place and we actually record the podcast about the place there. Like, I don't know. It just
we could try.
Like, I know it sounds really spooky and crazy, especially because I've had a lot of.
I think it's more shocking that I just heard this come from you.
I know. I've been really thinking about it, and I've been really feeling like, I don't know, it would be a really fun, interesting episode for Below the Forest Floor if we could find a place that is nearby, not too expensive to rent out for about an hour or two. And we could go and just record the episode from there. Maybe we would even catch something on the mics. Oh my god, can you imagine?
Because we'd have to use our phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, could you imagine, though, like, catching something while we're there? That would be incredible. And we can do that, or we could also do an episode, like, where it's us just doing audio from a haunted place and spending an hour there. Like, we could do 2 different ones, or...
That's what I thought at first when you were saying that.
I like both options, personally. Like, I think it'd be fun to do both at some point when we have a little bit of more finances to spend. I would love for us to be able to go to a place, rent it for a little bit, to do an episode where we just talk about the place while we're there in the middle of the night, and then another episode where we go to a different place and it's just us, recording our experience as we're walking through it. Because something that's kind of weird with me is that I can hear some things that other people don't hear, even though I'm hard of hearing. So I know it's not just me hearing something random, because if I heard it, other people should have heard it as well in the room, because I cannot hear out of one of my ears at all. But I will hear things sometimes that other people aren't hearing. And I talk about it in one of my other episodes, or a couple of my other episodes. When we were in Texas, I would hear a woman sobbing uncontrollably, like, all the time. And I thought, maybe it's neighbors. Or Ryan would be like, oh, maybe it's neighbors, or maybe it's your mom, or, And he would always go check. We'd go look around. There's nobody. There's nobody anywhere. Nobody could possibly be making that noise. And I would just hear a woman sobbing. I thought I was going crazy. And then we moved, and I never heard that again. After we moved, I never heard a woman sobbing uncontrollably again. And I've heard voices here and there of, like, someone telling me something and then something happening. And I remember this one night, Ryan was working really late, and there's a really bad snowstorm, and he didn't want me outside. And he asked his boss, he was like, hey, can my wife come in? It's really cold out, and the storm's really bad. I'm just checking the doors real quick. And he was like, sure. And he was taking me to go check the doors where he was, and I heard a voice. And Ryan didn't tell me what part of the school, like, anything had happened to him at that time. I didn't know what part of the school we were in. I heard a voice on the way to the elevator. And I told Ryan, I was like, hey, I heard a woman's voice as we were walking. He went, yeah, this is the haunted part. I just didn't want to tell you about it to scare you so I wouldn't scare you beforehand. And I was like, well, it kind of backfired when I heard the woman's disembodied voice. But I'm sure he wasn't expecting me to hear somebody in that area anyway. So it's just something that's always happened with me. And because I've had so many supernatural experiences, that's, I guess, another reason I really like having an outlet to talk about it, and you guys are basically it. That's why there are so many stories of personal stories on here, as well as the urban legends and the other things that I talk about, because I have wanted to get my stories out there, because there have been so many times in my life that people have not believed me. They're like, oh, you're crazy, or this is weird, because it's just too much for one person. It's like, I know, that's the worst part. It won't stop, and it's happening a lot. And even after we moved, weird stuff kept happening. Like, there are just some things you can't escape. Like, when we had the experience with my dad, because my dad has been dead for a few years, and then something happened. Because I don't even know if I talked about it on the podcast, but my dad and I didn't have really, like, a good relationship. So it's, like, kind of talking about it, but it's still a really interesting situation. Because when I was a kid, my dad, went on this Halloween walk around my school with me, with all my classmates, to pick up candy from the teachers. And as we were walking on the sidewalk, my dad sees a bird, and it's dead. And mind you, I said elementary school, or I meant to say elementary school. So I was like 10, maybe like 9 or 10. My dad goes over to this bird, and he picks up the dead bird in front of all my classmates. And he's like, look, I found a bird, waving it around. No, he wasn't wearing gloves. He didn't use a bag or anything, or a stick. He just picked it up with his bare hands, started showing my classmates and me. And I'm just like, why? Why are you picking up dead birds? And so it was like a whole thing. And then this one time, when it was like sometime last year, my husband and I were leaving the house, or no, I was leaving the house. I was by myself. And I found this dead bird outside, and I looked at it, and the first thing that came to my head was, it's Dad. And I was like, no, that's crazy. Don't be silly, why is that your first thing? And then it turns out my mom calls me later, and she starts telling me that she's having issues with birds. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What do you mean you're having issues with birds? And she's like, well, they are nonstop screeching outside, and it's never happened before. And Ryan lived with us, and never, ever since Ryan lived with us, since I've lived at that house, and I've lived there my whole life, have we ever had a issue with birds being loud at all ever outside.
No, they were always... No, every single part of San Antonio that was really bad with birds was by that one mall that we always...
Southside?
Southside, okay, yeah. Like, and that was like 30 some minutes away. Like, that's the only part that was like, you could not talk to someone outside.
And yet, all of a sudden, my mom's tree's right next to her house, and she said even at 3 a.m, those birds were going nuts. They were just freaking out constantly. And I was like, okay, the little intuition in my head is telling me this has to do with my dad. Something's going on. Because I still haven't forgiven him, but like I needed to do better about, like, because I was like talking real bad about him at some points because of the trauma and stuff. And so my mom and I are talking, and it turns out she had started dating and she had told my dad my dad had told her when he died that she wasn't allowed to bring men into the house, and she was bringing her dates home. And so apparently we think that we made him mad due to all this. And so I was telling her, I think we need to talk to him, and be open and real with him, as this is going to sound crazy and silly. And as I'm telling her, we can hear the birds going crazy over the phone, because we have her on speaker and Ryan's with me in the room, and the birds are just going nuts. And I'm like, oh my God. And then there was this weird noise that happened that sounded like a bird. When I told her I think it was Dad, it sounded like a monster bird. Like this.
One sounded a lot different than the rest of them, and it was just split-second sound, and then never heard it ever again.
And it was only in that time that I mentioned that I thought it was my dad. So we were like, okay, let's all sit. And I had my mom in video. She showed us the birds. You couldn't even see leaves in the trees from how many birds there were. And her friend was with her, and she was scared. So we all just got quiet and started talking to my dad. And I made a mean comment. Like I said, bad stuff with my dad has happened. And as soon as I made the comment, I felt like something fell in my eye and it started hurting. And then I said sorry. And as soon as I said sorry, the pain stopped. And I was like, really? This is the way it happens. And as we were talking to him, it's like, I know, sounds crazy. As we were talking to him, I was facing Ryan and Ryan was facing me. So my back was to one of my computer screens. As we're talking, the air conditioner and the light kept flickering. Like, the air conditioner kept shutting off and on. And we had never had issues with that air conditioner, ever. We had never had issues with that light, ever. And not even that day, just during that moment, it started flickering on and off. And then I opened my eyes for a little bit from talking to my dad, and I see Ryan looking behind me, and I start getting nervous. I'm like, what did he see? And he's like, there was an imprint on the screen. The screen was dark. The screen was off. And he said it looked like a finger was being like run across the screen. And I almost started crying. It was a whole thing. So we finished our apology. We asked him, is this okay? Or we finished our apology and our explanation and our talking to him and stuff. And when we asked him, was this sufficient? Is this okay? Is this enough? As soon as we asked him that, the lights stopped flickering. The air conditioner stopped flickering. Everything was normal again. The birds stopped making all the noise all of a sudden. Like, my mom's friend and my mom looked at each other, then looked at us. Everything just went silent. Never again had that issue. And it was just so interesting. And speaking of my dad, I could go ahead and tell you that story now. The one that you wanted to hear. So in the last episode where everyone was talking about their personal scary stories from the listeners, we mentioned that Ryan wanted to hear the story of what happened with my dad and the time he saw someone he thought he knew. So here it is. So my dad had a lot of experiences as well. And one day I'll just probably make an episode about all of the things that he told me about from what I can remember, because they were literally my bedtime stories. My dad did not ever, in my entire childhood, tell me a nice bedtime story. They were all, this one time I met the devil. This one time I saw a ghost woman. This one time, like it's my uncle almost got trapped in hell. Like, that's literally all the stories I got as a kid. I didn't have normal bedtime stories. And you would think it's really like that's so cool. And Angie's like, no, it's terrifying. I was 5. I was a spoofed out little girl. And so he would tell me all these stories. And this one that really, really freaked me out was he had a lot of brothers and sisters, my dad, because his dad was a player, like father, like son. And he said he was about 7 years old, 6 years old, and he was out playing in the fields. He grew up in Mexico, in the mountains, basically, over where there's like little villages and there's tons of just bare land, basically. And he was out in this field and he was looking for his sister because his dad said he couldn't find her. Well, my dad's out in the field looking for her and he sees a silhouette of a woman and he's like, oh, it's my sister. I can't remember her name. I think it was like Angelina or something. And he goes over to her and he's yelling her name and he's like reaching out for her. He's like, hey, Dad's looking for you, come back to the house. It's getting late. We want you to come back. And he said she was handicapped, so that sometimes it was kind of difficult to talk to her. So he said he reached up and just started yanking at her dress and he was like, hey, we have to go back inside. It's getting really late. Let's go. Dad's waiting for us. He get really mad. And so he's just struggling really hard to get her attention. And then all of a sudden he hears his dad shouting from the house and he's like, hey, what are you doing over there? Who are you talking to? Get back home. She's right here. And my dad turns and he sees his sister wearing the same clothing that this woman is, sitting on the porch with his dad. And my dad gets so scared that he just lets go of the silhouette, and the silhouette doesn't move. It doesn't do anything. It just keeps standing there, and he just starts to run home. He never found out who or what it was, but it was still standing there as he ran away, and it wasn't until he got to the house when he turned back around, it was no longer there. But my dad had thought that was his sister, and he had actually gotten that up close with that, whatever it was.
That's just creepy to picture. Like, the whole time you're telling me, I had my eyes closed and I was kind of like, it was reeling a video in my head about like all of that stuff. And that's crazy. That really is. Like that's one of those, that's a really good story too.
Yeah, my dad had so many of those because he went through a lot in Mexico with that kind of stuff. The supernatural was always around him. Sometimes he called to it. Sometimes it called to him. And it's so funny because it's something that runs on both sides of my family, my mom's side and my dad's side. I just never really got to hear a lot about it from my dad's side because he didn't really like his parents, And so I found out recently about how prevalent that was. And it was just so weird to hear about. And that's why I guess I have a lot of experiences that happened to me. And it's really cool, and then sometimes it's just not really cool. It really depends on the situation. If it's a scary thing happening to me, then it's not cool. If it's just something lighthearted, then I guess it's all right, but I'm still scared of it. So yeah, maybe I'll do an episode. Like, I'll just dig deep and just make an episode where I talk about my dad's stories. So before I forget someday, just talk about all of the things that he went through and experienced. And I know I talked about it a little bit here and there, but really make like a little anthology within an episode, So I think that's something that I will do. And Ryan says that he cannot remember the story he was going to talk about, so we're not going to try to sit here and try to jog his memory or anything. But I really hope that you guys enjoy the future episodes that we're planning on doing of Below the Forest Floor, like the SCP stuff or like the episode about my dad's personal experiences. I do have other family members that have gone through supernatural things, so I could eventually get talking to them at some point about it, because I live really far from them right now. They live all the way in Texas and I'm across the country. So it's kind of hard to get together talking to everyone, but if I could ever get to that point, I will definitely let you guys know more stories about my family. I might get into the more mystical side of things, because I did mention it just now about how both sides do have like some experience with mysticism. I might mention that. I've just always been really nervous too, because I've had the people I trusted in the past were not very kind to me about it and either didn't believe me at first, or then when they started to believe me, they started saying that I was doing these horrible things to them when they just had bad luck and were bad people and made bad decisions, which happens, you know. And so maybe I will just talk to you guys about that and tell you guys everything that I've been through with that stuff and had my family go through, and really get into it, because I do want to share that with you guys. I've just been really scared to, because I don't know what my family members that may listen to this will think, or that the people that, you know, I may have known at some point will think of me. It's a really personal thing and a really scary situation. So I am thankful for all of you who have made this a safe space for me on the internet. Like, Below the Forest Floor has become my place of safety. I feel safe talking to you guys about all of these different things about myself, and I'm so glad that you guys are here.
And I want to jump in real quick, because you just brought up a very good point, though, also, is you are thanking them for making this a safe space for you to be able to talk about all things like this, and you've actually made it a safe place for them who have possibly had these same types of things happen to them, the same types of feelings, the same type of likes and things. Like, whether you believe in some of these things or not, this is a good space to be, a good safe space for that stuff.
Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me, because I was bullied a lot growing up, and one of the first things I ever said when this podcast started growing was I couldn't believe people actually liked me talking, because I was made fun of for so long about my voice, being told it was so bad and ugly, and I sounded like a man when I was like 12, apparently, according to people, and I was so scared to even start something like this till Ryan encouraged me to do it, and it's been the best experience I've ever had. And I think at some point I might start like a Facebook group or a forum or something, so it can be a supernatural safe space to just find your people. You know, like Ryan talked about the Helpful Hunters Guild earlier. That's what I want to do for this too, and for anything, because I want this community to be fun and safe and nice, because the world deserves that, especially of all times right now with the way things are going on, because apparently the ghosts don't even stop during the pandemic. Like, they don't stop doing their thing. And it's something that I really like to talk about. But yes, in the future, when it comes to just episodes, if I have any more personal experiences, I will tell you guys about it. I will try to dig deep and move past, like, situations to talk about other personal stories that I have. I will talk to you guys about more creepypasta stuff, because you guys really seem to enjoy that, and I enjoy doing episodes like that. I really enjoy doing episodes about just regular urban legends, and I might do the more popular ones. I was just always kind of scared too, because people like, oh, I've heard 1 billion times about the Mothman, or I've heard so many times about the Jersey Devil, you know, but it's like, okay, but you haven't heard it from me.
Yeah.
And so maybe I can do something different with it. Maybe we can travel there sometime when we have the chance.
Now I've got that Mothman song stuck in my head, though. As soon as you said Mothman, I started thinking about the Mothman, and then I was like, it's now stuck in my head.
The YMCA version?
Yep.
Oh, God. Yeah, so we can put memes on our little forums and stuff like that about silly things, and maybe I could do like a meme of the week. That would be funny. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us for an hour and 18 minutes where we talked about mostly video games. Because it's honestly, all of this is such a big part of our lives, and we love every minute of it. We hope you guys enjoyed today's more relaxed, behind the scenes sort of episode, because what I wanted to do for this anniversary special is make it feel like you guys are just hanging out with us at home, or our friends on Discord, just sitting here together, just talking about our experiences, talking about our hopes and our dreams for the future with this podcast. So I do want it to go further. I do want it to continue. I do want to do more with it, and I do want to eventually get to the point where this is as big as I could possibly get it to be. And I'm so thankful for the year that I've spent hanging out with you guys, and I'm so thankful for you guys being down here with us below the forest floor. Thank you so much for listening. Oh my God, I'm choking now.
Thank you so much for joining us with this, and we hope to see you guys in the next one.
Yep, and hopefully it'll be out, I think the Saturday after this one's uploaded.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will see you guys then. Bye!
Bye!